Okay, I happen to be out and around and I have the camera with. So I will explain why I haven't uploaded a video for a while. Okay, on the 31st of last month, I got a strike for a video I had done, I don't even know, months before. But that's how they work. You can get a strike at any time for anything. Uh, and they've been on a kind of a rampage lately, giving strikes. I actually expected to give a strike, but I thought it would be on a reloading video because they're really clamping down on any of the firearm stuff. But this wasn't. This was to do with, I was talking about on this insurrection. After that, when they were checking phone records for anybody who was in the building and anything except for Pelosi, the one who was in charge of this whole operation. That was off limits. You couldn't look at her phone records. And I thought that was interesting. But by me saying that, somehow they said that I was uh, denying the veracity of the election. So it was misinformation. Again, it's just their catch-all term. But like I say, they've been on a rampage of late doing that. So no big deal. At the time, I rarely have no strikes, and at that time, I had none. So I got a strike. And then you get a week suspension. Okay, I can live with a week, no big deal. But even after the week was up, if I tried to upload something, I would get this message saying I had too many strikes. Well, that didn't make any sense, being as I only had one. And that suspension should have been up. It should have automatically been reinstated, but it wasn't. So you can do an appeal. So I appealed just to stir them a little bit. Immediately got back like 2 minutes later after I filed the appeal. I got back this message saying, "Oh man, they looked it over carefully, and oh no, it ain't gonna fly." That. So I knew right away there was no way they could have possibly looked at the video. I must be dealing with some kind of an AI thing that has somehow screwed up the limit on the suspension. But these people are impossible to deal with because, like I say, you're really not dealing with people. I thought it was kind of poetic justice because on the same day that happened was the day that the AI that Google is promoting had screwed up on some question that had been asked, given a wrong answer, which immediately lost like $100 billion in the stock value of Google. I thought that's good. These things aren't infallible, and they constantly have been laying people off. All these tech companies have been, and relying more on this AI. So I think that's where the problem lied. Because then days later, even I still couldn't upload anything. I would get that message that I have too many strikes. Made no sense, but there's no way you can actually communicate with these people. It immediately, you end up going in circles. It kicks you right back to their community guidelines. There again, this vague term that is just a catch-all. And it could cover anything. You can get a strike for anything. Any video you put up could get a strike. And like I say, appealing is really useless. I don't know that ever works. It would have to be some really drastic error on their part uh, to get where they would actually rescind that strike. But like I say, I usually have at least one. But at this moment, I have the one strike, which will will last until May 1st. Then that evaporates and I'm free and clear again. But the fact that they still say that I have too many strikes now, which makes me think, okay, because according, when I was juggling through their information here, it makes it sound like I cannot upload until May 1st. Well, they don't give out 3-month suspensions. So, like I say, there's some error going on here. But so then my only option is just to inform people of this, I can go on the Ghost Channel. But if you go on another channel to bypass their suspension, you can get everything shut down. So it's a little of a risk, but that's why I'm keeping an eye on this, because I'm going to keep this under 15 minutes, because on the Ghost Channel, I can't go more than 15 minutes. This one doesn't really matter, but on the Ghost Channel, and I will try to upload this on the regular channel, but if it won't go, then I'll upload it on the Ghost Channel. Like I said, no big deal. I've kind of lost interest in YouTube anyway. I'll take that chance. If they still haven't straightened that out, I'll take a chance on the whole thing going down, because it's kind of nice not to have to deal with YouTube. And they're just getting really out of hand. In fact, I saw a really funny ad for Rumble the one day, promoting Rumble, but it was on YouTube. But it was two guys standing there, one Rumble, one YouTube. It was really funny. But they're poking fun at, Google and their crazy strike madness that they're in now. Because they're going at it. There's a lot of channels been taken down and people just getting strikes left and right. So I know even if I stay on YouTube, even if I didn't upload anything for 6 months, the odds are within that time my channel will be taken down, because they're going to just keep, like I say, you can always get a strike. They can easily hit me with 3 strikes anytime they want, because there are, videos back there reloading and any of that firearm stuff they could hit you for. But this one, they chose to hit me on that misinformation nonsense. But there isn't, like I say, you can appeal, but that's kind of a joke. I mean, there really isn't any appeal in it, especially when, like I say, it took them 2 minutes to appeal a video that was probably a half hour long. That there isn't somebody, actually a physical human being, watching this video and making this decision. This is simply a bot kicking this back. So you can't deal with that. You can't get a hold of a human there, so you're never going to get satisfaction on that. But anyway, if I'm going to keep this under 15, I got to cut it short. Somebody was asking about the balloon deal, which is funny. I mean, the whole thing is hilarious, but it's a great distraction. But okay, they knew that balloon. This has happened before. We're spying all over. They're spying all over. Everybody's spying everybody else. These balloons come and go. They wouldn't have said anything about this one. They knew where it went. They were tracking this thing all the time. But it wasn't until somebody made a report on a UFO in Montana that they had to fess up, yeah, it was a Chinese balloon, and the Chinese admitted it was one of their balloons that got away from them. If we'd have been smart, we'd contacted China right away and said, you got a balloon coming? Because according to them, they just kind of lost control of this thing. Though there's something a little slippery there. But anyway, we're claiming, we're spying on our nuclear sites and all our secrets and eavesdropping on. I'm not worried about any of that. I'm not worried about Chinese eavesdropping. I'm worried more about the Google loon balloons that are turned over to our intelligence that are spying on us. Yeah, them I worry about. I'm more concerned about them. The only thing I thought it was interesting, they say they lost control of the Chinese one. If you watch on the tracking on this thing, uh, when I got into Alaska, like they should have shot it down over the Aleutians, been done with it, sent China the bill, I think they'd have paid. But they let it go. And honestly, they would have let it go all the way. If somebody wouldn't have brought it up, it have went right on through. But if you look at the map of the tracking of where it went, not on all maps, but on some maps, it'll show you that it did make, I'm sure this was a weather balloon and other stuff is kind of what China says, but it did make a loop around the HARP facility. Now, I thought that was interesting. Now, this HARP is now, it was Air Force, Navy, funded by DARPA. Now it's turned over to some Alaskan university, but of course they still got, military, and it's, they're playing around with stuff in the ionosphere, and I can see where the Chinese would have an interest in what's going on there, so it doesn't surprise me. But the fact that they were able to make a loop around it makes me think maybe they got a little control over this thing. But as far as our secrets, we got no secrets. It's like those women on the red carpet when they have them award ceremonies. The garbs they're wearing, they ain't got no secrets anymore. Everybody knows what's going on. In fact, it wasn't that long ago that the Russians were flying. This was part of this nuclear deal, and they would fly inspection tours over our facilities. There's no big secret. But we like to think it is. There's nothing they can learn that they can't learn with satellites. But I think this HARP facility probably interested them. But once it got out that this was a Chinese spy balloon, which it was, like I say, a weather balloon, but this horrible, terrible thing that could have viruses and EMP devices and all kinds of crazy stuff they were dreaming up. People just went nuts. And they're still going nuts. It reminds me of that Chicken Little thing. But now once people saw that, now they're seeing spy balloons all over. The sky, the sky is full of garbage all the time. There's balloons flying all the time. It's not a big thing, but we're trying to make it sound like a big thing. So now we're shooting down everything. Well, that pissed the Chinese off. So now the Chinese were complaining because they say, like in the last year, we've flown 10 balloons over China's airspace. And there was one today, so they were going to shoot it down. Now, I haven't heard if they actually shot it down, but they were going to. We got those loon balloons. There's always a couple of them here, 2 or 3 of them flying over the United States, spying on us. People don't freak out about that, though. Like I say, that bothers me more than the Chinese. But these things are all over. Like in Europe, there's some of them. They got them in Africa. Originally, Google made them with DARPA funding for internet access, but then, of course, they dropped that. They turned them over to the government. Well, I'm running up to 15 minutes. But this other garbage that they're shooting down now, all that happened is people found out, they made a fuss, they felt an obligation to shoot this thing down, and now this plays into their anti-China policy that they got going. So they're kind of playing on this. I better cut her off now, or I know we're running into trouble if I have to go on the Ghost Channel, which might be trouble too. But that's the story.